reach Engels, we will also reach the Kremlin, UKR Chief Intelligence Directorate. Now, there is some pretty big stuff here. We're going to talk about more of this later because there is obviously some things being said. Obviously, some big things have come out today over on Twitter. Apparently, one of the groups basically busted one of these big pharmas. We'll talk about that. We are going to be talking about the tease of one of these gentlemen basically saying that Russia will be hit by various blows, but who is another question, insinuating that it possibly may be NATO that will be hitting Russia later on this year. There's a lot of really grim predictions, and we're going to go all over that. So it says that Vadim Skibitsky, representative of the Chief Intelligence Directorate of the Ministry of Defense of UKR, does not rule out strikes from Ukraine on the Russian territory used by Vlad's army to attack UKR cities. It said that, and since there is a powerful regrouping of Russian troops, Russia's mobilization reserves are moving in all directions of the front, both the Rostov Oblast of the Russian Federation and from occupied Crimea. Strikes can also be carried out on Russian barracks and training grounds because, quote, sooner or later from these barracks, they will go out to the front line and attack our villages, our cities, Skibitsky said. The representative of the Chief Intelligence Director of the Ministry of Defense of UKR did not rule out strikes on Russian territory. It says it all depends on how critical the goals are, regardless of whether it is occupied or not. So we're going to go over this story and much, much more tonight. We're going to talk about what the quotes are here, and then, of course, some very scary things being said on Russian television. They consider German sending these tanks as a declaration of war, at least most of their mainstream media does. So we'll talk about all of this and a ton more. So we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. All right, and a quick word from our sponsor from today. Of course, Noble Gold. Gold prices could surge to $4,000 an ounce in 2023, and Noble Gold Investments has all of the details. As a recession fears persist, Ulrich Keiner, Chief Investment Officer of investment company Swiss Asia Capital, said that many economies could face a little bit of a recession in the first quarter, which would lead to many central banks slowing their pace of interest rate hikes and make gold instantly more attractive. If 2022 taught us anything, is that tangible assets are the only assets that you can count on, like gold. So what are you waiting for? Thousands of people have already started making a move towards a secure retirement. Join them by opening a gold IRA or a silver IRA with Noble Gold Investments. If you get in before the end of this month, you'll bag an incredibly free, wonderful quarter-ounce American Gold Eagle coin with every qualified IRA of $50,000 or more. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold Investments and their thousands of five-star reviews. So make sure to go check that out. And again, that coin is something that you can get now, a quarter gold ounce. That is pretty insane when an ounce is actually at about 2,000 plus right now. So that little coin is a pretty awesome gift. All right, let's get back into the news. And of course, if you are new here, remember you can always go over to our website at marfooglenews.com and you can find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to share here today. It won't be televised. Of course, if you go to this thumbnail, you'll find that every single article, tweet, picture, document is there, and the sources, and of course a full bibliography. So if you want to check out some extra stuff, at the very bottom there is the overflow. There is some huge stuff coming out today. Of course, you want to see that. I believe over 200,000 views in just about 45 minutes, or the first 45 minutes. People are going absolutely nuts on this. So make sure to go check that out. That is actually on YouTube, but it might not be for long. So make sure to go check that out. That is the very first link on the website. And then make sure to check out all of the other stuff that we cannot cover in a 2-hour time period. There's also all of the stuff that's too hot for TV. Again, make sure to go check out that page. And then, of course, if you haven't checked out all of our mods, make sure to go do so. They are over at marfugglenews.com/friends. You have everybody over there, and you can find their links. We'll talk about that later. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fuggle fam. I'm doing just fine.
All right, so by the way, thank you, everybody. Thanks for popping in. Let's see here. We have Phil Billy. Thanks for modding. CJ Blaze. Ilea is modding. Paul Nilsson. The Unreal Steve Martin. PJ Warden. Not sure. Stephen Story. Let's see here. There is current American troop movement in Syria. If you can send me links, I would love to read. And then Kayla Selby. Hey, from Texas. Much love, fam. Android Architect Misty Dobbs says, yo. Joseph Newhouse, Sergeant Zidenko. Let's see here. Michael, what is going on? Bugnana, Oki Khan, and Legia D. Thank you, everybody. By the way, so many teenagers and 20-year-olds are getting the thing. Yes, they are. King Usa, Gaynor Blair, Preacher Kenbeck, Granny Juju, and Serena. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Gloria Nepp, thank you. I appreciate everybody popping in already. So things are not going well. Later on in the episode, we're going to have some really kind of scary stuff. I try to warn you. I forgot last night, and somebody pointed that out. I forgot to warn you before the really stressful stuff that gives people panic attacks. I try to give a warning, but frankly, almost everything right now is not going to be sugar-coated. We're not going to, tell you everything is fine and dandy when it's not, and we're also not here to scare you. This is a volunteer show. I mean, you don't have to be here. You don't have to come and see us. Again, if you are scared by scary movies, then just don't watch scary movies. Go watch a comedy. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of both because the world is funny sometimes. But again, an asteroid will pass close by Earth this week. Here's how to watch it live. So I've seen a lot of people talking about this. Every time that a large asteroid passes, we get a lot of kind of buzz around it. But this one is pretty huge. It says Asteroid 2023 BU measures between 12 and 28 feet wide and was just discovered on Saturday, January 21st, by an astronomer, Gennady Borisov, at the Margo Observatory in Crimea. Out of all places to discover this from, right? It says when it passes by Earth at its closest on Thursday, January 26th, the space rock will be within less than 3% of the average Earth-Moon distance at an altitude of just 2,178 miles above Earth's surface. That actually really sounds close. Dex, that's really close. You got to consider the moon. I think that's the closest I've seen, isn't it? The moon is like, the moon is 200 and something thousand miles. Is that right? 2,000 miles? Is that above?
Well, that does sound pretty close when you think about it. But I think it's but most, I guess it says most satellites are like 22,000 miles. So yeah, that's pretty close.
Well, think about it. It's 3,000 miles from, Seattle to New York. So that's less distance from here to New York. That's like really, really close. And here's the freaky thing. They just discovered it 4 days ago. This is what we were talking about. Like, these things can come out of nowhere. This is between 12 and 28 feet. It's not a world killer, but it is definitely, it could possibly be as big as a bus. I mean, that's big, isn't that? What kind of damage could that do? Does anybody know? Like, that's insane. That is 28 feet is like a 40-yarder trailer coming in at however many miles an hour, 22,200 miles an hour. Let's see here. And then most asteroids aren't bright enough to be seen without a powerful telescope. Luckily, you can watch Asteroid 2023 BU make its close encounter with their planet thanks to a virtual telescope project. Astronomer Gianluca Massi will be hosting a free live stream of the asteroid's pass on the project's website. One thing I also think about is how they have said that something was going to narrowly pass and it actually hits, or say something, they don't even know that it's going to come anywhere close, but it ends up landing in the ocean or something. That's kind of crazy. I wonder if this is at all going to go over any place near us, or is this going to go over the middle of the ocean? If it was, or directly above the ocean, obviously, 2,000 miles is really, really far up there. But again, like the satellites are about 20,000 miles away, so that's really close. The moon is 200 and something thousand miles. So that is incredible. And the fact that they just discovered it 4 days ago, pretty insane when you think about it, that big of a rock only being discovered now. And then humanity may reach singularity within just 7 years, trend shows. Dex, do you want to explain this? And I don't think people are going to wrap their head around this as much as they should, because the things that we're talking about now in this day and age are things I don't think we ever realized especially in my lifetime, just in the last 10 years, all of a sudden this stuff is now reality where it used to be science fiction.
Singularity, or technological singularity, is a hypothetical future point in time when technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. Basically, that point that we say when, like, AI, for example, becomes so much more powerful that we can't actually control it anymore, or it becomes more intelligent than human intelligence could be. And what they're predicting here, and specifically, they're just talking about language translation in this one particular example. But with the language translation, they're saying that at the progress they're getting with language translation from AI, that it won't be that far off till we can have the ability to have AI fluently translate from all languages into all languages. And when it can do that, that's achieving something that's greater than human can do. Obviously, there's a lot of things they've already achieved that are greater than what humans can do. But they're predicting that type of example, based on how fast it's learning, is going to happen within about 7 years or so. And that could be one of the signs, or this notion that a lot of people debate, of this hypothetical singularity, as they refer to it, which is when we reach that point where the computing power, or the artificial intelligence, whatever you want to talk about, however you want to phrase it, is so powerful that it becomes greater than mankind, or humankind.
Well, and some who was that made the comment? I missed it. I'm sorry, but somebody says if AI will think that humans are evil, or that humans are bad. I think that Elon actually did put it in a really good way. It wouldn't be that AI would want to take us out for any purposeful reason and say that that. It's kind of like how we are with an anthill. How he explained it, he goes, if we're humans and we're trying to build a road and there's an anthill, that we're not going to stop and go around the anthill. We're just going to basically pave right over it. I think that's how it would be. They would think of us as ants, like that we don't matter. They're just building and doing whatever they need to do, and we're in their way, that we will be in the way. Also, there's been many movies made about the kind of idea that AI will look at us and say that we're destroying the planet. If you look at humans, we are imperfect. We do pollute. I mean, there's no argument that we pollute and we do nasty stuff. And Bob and Steve, who are, employed for, nuclear company A, have actually gone and taken nuclear waste and dumped it in lakes and things. You have human stupidity that has caused leaks, that has, obviously dripped oil into the water and things like this. Like we do these things. And if you were AI and you had this, I guess, I don't know, would they feel like they're absolute better or perfection or something? I don't know. They would look at us like pieces of crap. This is why people are scared of AI more than they are scared of nuclear weapons, because AI can control the world, or at least this new world, that everything is interconnected. Everybody is, gung-ho for their smart home, smart lights, smart everything, but all of these things have an off button remote. Like literally you can remotely turn off people's homes. This has already become a thing in science fiction and everything else, but it's like science reality because people have whole homes where every single light is on their Wi-Fi and things like this. And your Wi-Fi goes down and boom, your whole house is done. Like this is stupidity on humans, on human side, because we are pushing it. All of these different companies are doing all of this work, and all of the little AI things that come out of it that help the bottom line or cut a person out of their job to make a company more money, they don't care that in 10 years, all of this competition and all of this AI, one of these things is going to become sentient and frickin' hack the world. Like they're really dumb, and people don't worry about it because we have been desensitized to it from science fiction and from videos and movies and everything else. We don't think of this as an actual threat. It's like baked into us, like, that's science fiction. Or even if people aren't really afraid of this. And that's why some of the smartest people in the world, they are afraid of it. They're deathly afraid of it because this can take over everybody. When you think about everything that is now running our world, it's scary. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and let me just dive quickly into the methodology that they used here. So what they're comparing is a human that translates language. So when a translator is listening to one language and translating it to another language, it takes them roughly 1 second to edit the word from another human translator. Back in 2015, when professional editors would take machine translated languages, it would take them 3.5 seconds per word. Today, that time is down to 2 seconds. In other words, the machines are getting better. So at the rate at which they're improving, they're suggesting that they will be faster than humans at translating language. And unless you speak a couple of languages, you don't necessarily get how important that is when it comes to processing and thinking. But when you're literally taking one language and translating it to another, and you're doing it in real time, like a translator does, a very fluent with multiple languages, it's a big deal. It's kind of there's a lot of processing power in the human brain that goes through that. You got to understand a lot of things. This is not just as simple as ChatGPT putting together nice, fluent words from a whole bunch of information that's learned and picked up from these giant databases. This is literally understanding the construct of multiple languages, all of their meanings and how they come together and how they're necessarily used in the context that's being spoken. So it's really complex. So that's a huge jump in this time period. And they basically measured out that time period, and they're suggesting that in this potentially 7-year time period, the machines will be better than humans at doing that type of translation. Now, two things. One, does that mean singularity, or does that get us to it? That's what they're suggesting. It's a possibility. But the other thing, just think about this, having fluent translation in a universal, I wouldn't call it a universal language, but a universal capability to communicate from any human to another human in any language and have this capability in the middle that is in real time is pretty amazing. But at the same time, it's also pretty scary when you think about how it is basically advancing beyond our own human brain power.
And no, Unseen Apex, I am not a deep fake. Nathan says AI is not scary and you shouldn't fear it. I disagree with you respectfully. And again, I probably shouldn't even said the name. I think that we should be able to disagree on these things. I do personally think that it should be feared, because if no one fears it, then no one will take it seriously. If you do not add fear into that mix, if everybody's embracing this thing, this can get out of hand really, really fast. Maybe some are embracing the fact that, we should embrace AI and then also embrace Neuralink, and that we'll be able to keep up with it because we'll be connected with this kind of stuff. As we've seen in this recent viral kind of, they asked AI what people would turn into over time, and it showed this painting to paint people over time, and it turned from obviously through the ages, and then it got to people holding a phone, and then that phone slowly turned into a robot arm, and then the person turned into a cyborg, and then the cyborg slowly turned into wires in the wall. that we just turned into the computer. People don't take that seriously. They think, haha, yeah, sure, okay. Or they think it's going to happen so far down the road that they won't be alive. These things are happening at breakneck speeds. And I say anybody that does not fear it has not even heard some of the rumors that are coming out of what the military has with this AI. And, of course, the stuff talking about Google AI becoming sentient and how quickly that was covered up. I mean, like, they basically said, oh, no, I wasn't. It's okay. Forget about it. Think about something else. I don't know. I disagree. I think that people should fear it, and I think people should fear to lose their jobs and the way of life that we have now. Maybe that's like, not evolving, I guess. Maybe, everybody wants to struggle and keep things the way they are, but unfortunately that everything is about to change for us as humans, and that's a freaky thing to think about. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that maybe while you have no control over what they are doing, unless you happen to be they and you're working in the development field of building artificial intelligence, but as we all sit on the sidelines and deal with this, I think the one thing that we could do is make sure that we educate ourselves as best as possible in what's going on in this world so that we don't have our head in the sand and so that we are at least as well aware of all the tools, capability, and functionality that's there. If that means embracing AI, doesn't mean you have to embrace it and promote it, but it also means if you're well aware of how it all works and you stay in tune with it, then at least you're probably less susceptible to being harmed by it if you can see what it's doing or how to avoid it. The pitfalls that it.
Yep, exactly. I do want to say thank you to Meatpuppet007. Shout out to the mods. Thank you for yesterday's support. Craig Alicious, thank you for the super chat. Marianne Spinelli, Riverside Homestead Life, Be Real Beast, Lola Cafe, Andy Mack, Baby Yoda, Open Truth Ministry, Grace for You Too, Bible Talk, and Feathers and Flowers, Joanna's Adventures, and Carol McLean. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support, and thank you guys for supporting Independent. Wide Awake and Angry. Let's see here. Let's see. Somebody said something. Deplorable Block, the Internet of Things. Skynet. Go look up Skynet. Skynet's not just in Terminator. It's a real thing. And it has something to do with the Internet of Things, which is absolutely disturbing that they named it Skynet. They knew that. I mean, like, why? And then new demic fears as the bird cough mutation may infect humans like the CV did. So we're hearing a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors about this kind of stuff. What is really bad is that not only do you have the Davos crew basically saying that 96% of their cyber experts, the top in the world, and 86% of their business experts are saying that in the next 2 years, it is very likely we'll have a catastrophic cyber event that will change everything. That will be like things that we've never seen, unprecedented, something that the world has not seen on a global scale. You also have the other crew, or maybe parts of the same crew, saying that we are going to possibly have a demic that's no one has ever seen, a billion plus perish, that it's going to affect your brain and all of this. At the same time, today, a lot of stuff came out on Twitter. I would highly recommend you going over to the website or to go over to Twitter and look at the top 5 trending. You'll see it. There's a ton of different stuff coming out about, how this could have happened. So for them to be saying this kind of stuff on top of the last 4 months of these rumors that Xi overnight dropped all of the requirements, it was very strange. They said, and it gave people the idea that in China, that everybody was protesting. They're billions strong, and they're all out in the street, and they've got their white papers, and that's why the government thought they were going to be overthrown, or it was a coup, and they immediately just said, "Oh, we roll over. It's all good. We're going to unlock your doors, take the barbed wire out of your hallways. You don't need a green code to use the bathroom anymore. You don't need to get your forehead checked to leave your home." All of that was dropped overnight. And people think it was because of these protests with the white papers. I don't think so. It seemed like it wasn't like they slowly kind of took their foot off the gas. It was like they just hit full stop, and they said, no, you're fine. Go out, take your things off, go fly, go wherever you want. You can go everywhere. And this is right after, of course, all of this tabletop exercise that happened in October. This is, of course, after everybody is saying that, the crematoriums are full. We have a story later we're actually going to show you. Let's see here. They say that coffins are sold out right now. These are the headlines coming out right now. This is nuts. Let me just pull this up so I can. Let's see. Actually, we're going to be talking about it next. Look at this. China coffins sell out as rural losses mount. I mean, this is insane. It says just a year after the most of the world came out of endemic, news of a new strain of the bird cough has sparked fears of a new one after 50 million poultry were slaughtered in Europe in the space of 1 year. It says a new scientific study into the strain has shown that the avian has been transmitted from wild birds to a group of mink on a farm in the Spanish city of, no joke, La Coruna. No joke. Are they going to call it Coruna? Not even a joke. And it says it claims the CV was passed from farmed minks to humans during the demic, and it can happen against the new strain of the avian labeled as HPAI H5NI, which if you just look at that word, I don't know what those stand for. I know that there's the normal H something, N something, but the H pi, I don't know. Again, it says, I don't know if it even has the actual acronym here, but it says the expert states, despite the criticism for fur farming has recently received following SARS-CoV cases in farmed minks and the spillback into SARS-CoV transmission events reported between minks and humans. And by the way, everybody knows like the minks, to actually have like mink fur or something, this has always been a Cruella de Vil, like rich elite thing to have minks. I don't know how many regular people have mink coats, maybe a couple. It is warm. It says, and humans, this production sector is still common worldwide with an important economic impact. For this reason, the given concerns caused by the susceptibility of minks of emerging viruses such as H1 viruses and SARS-CoV-2, it is necessary to strengthen the culture of biosafety and biosecurity in the farming system and promote the implementation of ad hoc surveillance program for the viruses and other zoonotic at a global level. It also means, this is probably another reason why they say everybody needs to, go get fixed. Go get go get spayed and neutered, if you know what I mean. These interventions are instrumental to prevent contact between minks and wild animals and to control disease transmission events from minks to farm workers and vice versa. This warning prompted several experts to come out in force on social media to warn of what could happen. Says Dutch virologist Marion Koopmans said humans are now playing with fire, while British doctor Jeremy Farrar added the greatest risk of a devastating or avian animal flu is that it infects intermediate mammals and evolves to mammal and human-to-human transmission with little or no human immunity. Considering what just came out on Twitter and even on YouTube for who knows how long, this is pretty disturbing stuff, especially when you think of, if you have the knowledge that we've had for a few hours now, it's kind of disgusting. Dex, do you want to go over this? And of course, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, with the release that's on our website that we posted, so make sure you go check it out. We'll talk about it later in the show as well. But, I guess the one thing I don't think I've ever in my lifetime been exposed to a mink, but I don't know if that is the real message here, right? That's not the real message. I think the real message is what we're talking about here from, when you piece together the stuff that Gilly Bates said, and we reported on last night to Australia what he said, a couple months ago at that exercise, that tabletop exercise. When you take what we're seeing pharma do, which is in that video you were just showing, that's on our website, that the PV put out, you need to go check that out. It's really interesting. And you put all this together. I mean, it is the, if anything taught us that this last round, that something like this can have a serious effect on everyone's livelihood, everyone's lives, the global economy, everyone. This is one of those things, and it seems like it'd been a long time since we had one of that magnitude, and the one we just had wasn't even as bad as what they're predicting is coming next. And I think that's what's kind of scary in some regards, but also I would just say concerning for now, because it's one of those things that it's inevitable. It's a matter of time, but it's also something that could be programmed too. It can be produced. It doesn't have to just be random.
And not to mention, so if you are one that thinks that, everything, including Vlad and the two Vlads going at it and everything over in Eastern Europe, if you think that all of that is, say, orchestrated, what a perfect, quick end to that, and to just, they would be able to transition out of that, and everybody goes back to normal, everybody stops fighting, and they're able to end it overnight if something like that came out and something like that hit the world, right? Everything would shut down again. It would be like 2.0, right? And it would be an excuse, and nobody would even question. I bet they wouldn't even cover it. Why? If this happens and the whole world gets it again, or something like this happens again, just watch. The conflict, nobody would even remember in a year from now. This is what freaks me out. Is like, I see people that it was, giant news, and a couple weeks later, after it's moved on, and something bigger is there, people have a tendency just to forget about everything we just went through. I mean, people definitely don't forget. I mean, people definitely forget a lot of the BS that we were just put through when they're listening to the new stuff, because the new stuff is clearly, it's like they've done the same trick over and over again. But if it comes from a talking head on CNN or Fox, people go, well, but it is coming from somebody in a suit. Maybe it's true. And if you repeat a big enough lie enough, people will believe it. So I just wonder too, if some of you are right that Vlad and all of this stuff is all to work something out and to get billions of dollars to the right people so they can drive their 50 cars and resign peacefully with no charges and do all that, then guess what happens next? This stuff. So we'll talk about that again, probably in the coming weeks as more and more comes out. And then before we talk about the shortages hit China, I definitely want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. If you want to protect yourself against a real EMP strike, or even a CME, a solar event, then I'd highly recommend you go and look into EMP Shield. Many of the Foogle fam can attest that EMP Shield is an awesome company. Again, they started out hand making these in Kansas, and then they got a huge contract a few years ago after we actually started with them. The T-Man ended up doing an executive order to harden our grid. EMP Shield was one of the main companies that DHS and DOD and all of these different agencies ended up calling up, and now they have helped out not only DHS, DOD, but they're now officially on the DEMSO team helping the Texas grid. So they got these huge contracts, and now they have grown much bigger, but they still have the same veteran-owned crew running it, and it's 100% American-made down to the screws. This is an awesome company and an awesome product that's Keystone military tested to basically ground the signal of an EMP strike, multiple phases, E1, E2, and E3, all phases, in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car. So if you work far from home, or you plan to bug out or even bug in, then I would highly recommend putting one of these on your cars, trucks, motorcycles, four-wheelers, anything that runs, they basically make a device for. And then also you can also protect your generators, your gas generators, your Flex 1500 solar generators, and you can also protect your home. The home version you can actually wire in, so everything plugged in within 250 linear feet is protected. On top of all of this, you're going to help our independent channel at the same time as getting a $50 discount per device. That means you are going to get that. Again, if you have to outfit 4 cars with it, you're going to get $50 per. That's $200 off. If you get 3, that's $150. And it stacks on top of all other ads and everything, every other savings that they have. If they have sales, it always stacks. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Within 15 minutes, you can have your car protected. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about the natural gas shortages hitting China as the temperatures plunge?
Well, yeah, here we have, we talked about this for Europe a while back. We thought it was going to be a really big deal, but apparently it is also happening in Xi's country. So winter weather hitting them pretty hard in certain areas. And in those same areas, they're actually having a shortage of natural gas. So you can imagine that's pretty alarming when you're trying to stay warm and keep the gas flowing so that you can keep the heat running. So again, that's used not only for heating, but it's also used in some places for even creating electricity from what would have been coal plants now burning gas. But that's what's going on. So it's kind of interesting to see that happening. Of course, there's you would think with some of the relationships they have with Vlad's country, they would probably have a better supply. But I don't know that there's pipelines, and maybe I'm just not aware of how much they bring in, or maybe how much they actually consume. Could be part of the problem. Maybe they're consuming a lot more than they have in the past. But we certainly know Vlad has a pipeline or two that's not in use right now that was feeding Europe. So there's plenty of it out there. I just obviously it's not getting to this country to help them.
No, and it makes sense why. Maybe they knew it was coming because they said that they would not sell their LNG to Europe. Maybe they knew this was coming, or maybe they've had something that's been going on. Bobby Sue Fry, I don't know why you would say that. So it says EMP Shield won't work against an X-class flare. It will handle a Carrington level event, and a Carrington level event will happen, and it will most likely happen pretty soon here because they happen on average every 140 years. It's been 150. So I don't think I would highly recommend. We haven't had one directly hit us, so but they can test that, and it is Keystone military tested. So I wouldn't say that without having the correct knowledge on that. But again, I would make sure to go and check out the actual tests and the things that they have done to prove that they can. All right, and then there was a quote in here, by the way. It says, "We dare not turn on the heat overnight. After using it for 5 or 6 hours, the gas stops again," Mr. Li, a 45-year-old grocer, said by telephone from his home in northern China's Hebei province. "The gas shortage is really affecting our lives." I'm surprised they even let them say that. Normally they have to answer, to the media and say, "Oh no, everything's fine, and our president is the best guy in the world, and we love him, and we don't mind not having power 14 hours a day. We love it. That's why we're proud of our country." We're being recorded, right? And then Chinese military aircraft vessels cross into Taiwanese space in latest threat of force. Chinese military aircraft and vessels invaded Taiwan's airspace and waters yet again early Wednesday in what has become a near daily show of intimidation against the island nation. Taiwan's defense ministry said 4 Chinese military aircraft and 3 Chinese naval vessels were detected around 6 a.m. local time. Taiwan's armed forces are monitoring the situation and tasked CAP aircraft, Navy vessels, and land-based missile systems to respond to China's activities, the defense ministry said. An incursion by China into Taiwan has been almost daily occurrence for weeks as tensions between the two nations ramp up. And it's actually been longer than that. But as far as daily, the last 3 weeks, it has been every single day. And then before that, every month. I mean, the numbers have been breaking records. As we have said before, it seems like they're testing their resolve and always pushing it to the next level. And then the Taiwanese president, of course, it says Taiwan split from the mainland in 1949 after a civil war and have no official relations but are linked by billions of dollars in trade and investment. Of course, it comes down to the money, right? And it says the CCP regularly flies fighter planes and bombers near Taiwan to enforce its stance that the island is obliged to unite with the mainland by force if necessary. Tensions escalated after the then Speaker Nancy Pelosi of the U.S. House of Representatives in August became the highest-ranking American official to visit the island in 25 years. One thing that I is just so crazy to me is that we consider them our adversary, but yet, what would we do without China? If you really think about everything made in China, which is absolutely terrifying to really think about, what would we have? There's not much stuff that's even made here anymore. And people think that there's a lot of stuff made here, but there's really not. It should be that way. Of course, President Biden told us, oh, everything's going to go back to made in America again. Why is he even saying that? Why is he saying that we'll have our own semiconductor chip factories? Well, I think that that's because he knows things are about to change and that he's probably a part of it. Dex, what do you think about? I mean, this is just like a daily thing now. It's crazy.
Well, they said they were going to normalize it, and that's exactly what they're doing. If by doing it daily, they're normalizing it. By moving ships in, they're increasing the intensity of it. When it becomes twice a day, when it becomes 3 times a day, when they bring 4 or 5 ships across that line and they bring them closer to the border and closer to the border, and it happens over and over and over again, at some point, Taiwan has to do something about it. Or if they don't, then they're allowing that normalization to become the norm, hence the word normalization. And as it goes from we're encroaching on the ADIS to we're crossing the median to now we're across the median multiple times a day to now, oh, and maybe we're going to land over here and just, show up on a runway and you're going to deal with it. Right. Where does the line draw? Where do they stop and say no more? Or do they just slowly move in and the normalization process prevents anyone from, reacting because they just slowly boil the frog in the water, right?
Well, as far as, everything that's going on with Taiwan right now, people are completely desensitized. We don't think of it anymore. As far as this goes, like we've said, we've covered this almost every single day. When it does happen, it's going to be because they already have people surrounding the island, or who knows, they could have infiltrated Taiwan's government and maybe they're waiting on somebody to crumble and then they end up doing it from the inside. One day we could wake up and the headline reads that Taiwan agrees to unite. Hong Kong happened a whole lot sooner than anybody thought. We could see something like that happen. And then I bet you if that did happen, my predictions would be that immediately you would see so many different business owners and journalists and different people that currently live in Taiwan would immediately either be removed, arrested, or put in prison or even executed for things that we consider are just normal, not even a crime. They would consider treasonous. They did that with Hong Kong. We saw a ton of people all of a sudden just disappear, and most of them weren't even publicized. Let's hear. Dale Val says, that's because Biden lies a lot. That was pretty funny. It's funny because it's true. And then Grace for you too. Thank you for the super thanks. I appreciate that. Super sticker. And then investing in eggs and my family, says Kingdoms of Erden. It's kind of sad. You could buy eggs this week and it might even go up. You could hold on to them for a week. Thanks, Dex, James, and Senior Marf. Much love. Keep it up. Well, thank you, Kay Holmes. I appreciate that. Modoc Rough Stock says, anyone from Scrapoose, Oregon? Much love from Vernon Hassenkamp. Well, nice to see you, and thank you so much for your support. Zen1AZ, thanks for coming again. Thank you for popping in again. Please show support and hit that like button. Much love. Hey, thanks for reminding folks. I never do. I always forget. And then Karen Kissick, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you. You can always write something there. I don't believe I've actually, I don't think I've seen you do that again. So if this is your first, you can always write a message. And then AI can't do my job, so back to wrenching. I enjoyed the 4.2 in LA this morning. We'll be listening. God bless. Stay safe, everyone. Be Real Beast. I hate to say it, but I disagree. If you are wrenching something, that might be replaced by a robot, unfortunately. But maybe, I don't know exactly what you do, so you may be correct. And then Carol White, thank you so much for your support, and thank you as well. Observer, thank you for the super sticker. And then Travel with Dan, $50 super chat. Thank you for supporting Independent. We really do appreciate you. Love your channel. Keep up the great work you do, Adam, Dex, and Mafia crew. Well, thank you, Travel Dan. Again, you guys are this is the only support system we have. Almost everything we cover is controversial and not suitable for all advertisers, so thank you. Israeli army says it killed Palestinian in West Bank who tried to stab soldiers. Dex, do you want to go over what happened here? I guess the cliff notes.
Yeah, so we cover this stuff from time to time, and it's good to pay attention to what's going on in the ME. Now, I know we've got the big drills that are kicking off over there. In this particular case, you're dealing with a lot of the stuff that goes back and forth with the West Bank and in that area, and specifically with the Palestinians. And so in this case, when there's a issue like this where there is an incident between the military or the forces there, that's where things tend to escalate. So we kind of watch it to see if it turns into more. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it settles down. They resolve it however they resolve it. But we have seen these go from one incident to 10 to 20 to weeks, and then it can get into something much bigger. So we'll pay attention, but it's exactly what it says. That's what happened.
And it said the Army released the CCTV video, and it said it was of the attack in which a man emerges from a car at a bus stop, apparently brandishing something in his hand. The footage shows the man running at the soldiers before collapsing when they appeared to take him down forcefully. And I haven't seen the correct video. I saw a video that somebody posted, and it was the incorrect video, and it was of something else, which I don't know why people do that. But I haven't seen the original video yet. But when things like this happen, or when you have somebody who is taken down by police where people think that it was done in, obviously not in the vein of justice, then people can get pissed and protest and everything else. Over there, that is a potential hot point, and many people have just forgotten about it since the military isn't there over in the Middle East. People don't really cover it even. Which I think is crazy, because it is a place where you have two countries fighting for thousands of years, and any time it could definitely go very, very south. And then air raid sirens all over UKR. Russian MiG interceptor jet flew in Belarus again. So technically they said it flew into Belarus or over. It said air raid sirens sounded all over UKR on the morning of the 25th of January this morning. Last night in our time. Belaruski Hajan, an independent Belarusian military monitoring media outlet on Telegram, said an air raid siren means that there is a threat of a missile attack or airstrike. When you hear it, you need to go to shelter. The Belarusian monitoring media outlet announced that an AWACS aircraft, a support fighter, and a MiG-31K capable of carrying Kinzhal hypersonic missiles have taken off in Belarus. In particular, at 8:30, a support fighter took off from Beranvichi, Belarus. Then at 8:35, an A-50 AWACS aircraft of the Russian Aerospace Forces took off from the Meliskusi airfield, Belarus. And then at 9 and 9:06, two MiGs basically left the Aerospace Forces and took off from Malichuski. It said that at 10:55, all clear signals were given. The air raid siren was sounded throughout UKR on the afternoon of the 24th, and it said the missile threat lasted for 40 minutes. So one thing we want to point out is that so they have said that Russia has not even used some of its advanced fighters and jets over Ukraine yet. They have done things from their homeland, but they have not actually crossed the border with them. So they're not even using their newest gen fighters yet. In this case, people all over UKR were probably scared crapless, thinking that something was going to happen. And I would assume at this point, especially if you're in a place that didn't have a lot of air raid sirens, because not all the places are being hit all at the same time, that you'd think that maybe they're going to do what everybody's been talking about, which is tactical nukes or something else. Dex, there was something a little strange about this, though, right?
Well, yeah, it was all over. That was a big deal. And then, we're on edge right now. When I say that, I mean they're on edge right now because of the fact that they're anticipating this escalation that's supposed to be happening. They've been hit numerous times with these massive barragements of missiles, specifically going after infrastructure in the past few times that they've come in. And they've been suggesting that, and seeing all the troop movements, they've seen all the gear movements, they've been anticipating there's this escalation about to come. So when any type of thing starts to happen now, they're all on edge. And so, when these start sounding the sirens across the entire country, like you said, that's probably pretty impactful to its civilians that are there and having to deal with, especially if they're in a location that may not have had much of the action that has been seen in the eastern parts and the southern parts. So, kind of a frightening experience for them, but also they are living in the midst of a true conflict. It's happening, some people, it's happening daily for them in their towns right now, all the time.
And the big picture of all of this, at the same time, we covered all of the stuff that, of course, has been going on the last couple of weeks, the fight over the tanks. And now Germany says that they're going to be doing it. There's a lot of stuff. It said that Putin's allies call for Berlin to be nuked after Germany's game-changing decision to send the Leopard 2 tanks, which, remember, they said that they were holding off for the U.S. The U.S. said that they would send the M1 Abrams. We're sending in a ton of gear. All of NATO is going to be sending in huge, very, very offensive tanks. This was a huge red line, and most people are just like, well, they drew a million red lines. Who cares? This might be the real absolute red line that starts it all. I personally think that a lot of people are just kind of pushing back and like just hoping it's not going to happen. I think the only way that this doesn't happen, that we don't go to World War III, is that we go to 2.0 of CV. That's the only reason I could see just everything shutting down again, for them to be able to transition into that, make trillions of dollars, bazillions of dollars, and not address all of this BS that they've just put us through. Otherwise, we're going into WW3. Otherwise, how could Vlad or somebody like Vlad, who obviously everybody says is a super proud person, this and that, to go through all of this humiliation, for all of Russia to be separated from the rest of the world? Well, I say that and everybody go, well, not the rest of the world, just from NATO countries. Or something else is going to happen. It says that Fumin Kremlin propping in has threatened nuclear strikes on the West today after Germany agreed to send tanks to UKR. One high-profile Putin mouthpiece demanded Berlin's Bundestag parliament should be reduced to radioactive ash in retaliation. Everybody laughs these threats off, and everybody laughs off what they say at the media. All of Russia, which they watch their political shows, like Clayton Morris on Redacted and his wife said, Natalie Morris, which they've done a pretty good job of covering this, a really professional job of covering all of this as well. Like he said, this is basically their political shows, and they're saying that Germany declared war. They're essentially saying that Germany has declared war, and then that's how they see it. But if you look at how the Russian people look at those shows, this is the Russian people. They watch those shows, and this is their entertainment. This is the stuff that they're agreeing with. This is the stuff that they're getting hit with propaganda and everything else. You have to understand, those are regular people as well. That wherever they're from, we're all the same. Doesn't matter where you were born or what color you are. We're all the same. We're human beings. and we can all be tricked or brainwashed into whatever the heck they want us to think. So as far as like what they're telling them, they want us to die. And this is reflected all across their media. We try to gather news we even try to gather like the Global Times stuff, if they have an alternate view to what we're saying, or the People's Daily or Chinese news. On the Russian side, their media is really insane. They swear at each other on their news. They yell, they scream. They're just, I mean, their news is way different. Imagine Tucker Carlson calling people the B word and saying that they should die a horrible burning death. Like, that's the kind of stuff that's on their regular TV. But that's what a lot of people are rooting for right now. So you have people here rooting for war, you have people over there rooting for war, and nobody at our level, regular civilian level, wants this. I mean, how many people want World War III? Also, people think that World War III is the end of the world. I don't think so. I think it's the start of a new order. Dex, what do you think about? Did you actually see some of the videos? By the way, I don't know if you got to see. Did you actually watch the videos, or did you just read some?
I did not get to see the videos. I've just read what's been said, and what's going on here. I just, I go back to my statement last night about the fact that it's been a long time, and obviously it was a very monumental time when German tanks were rolling into their land, so to speak. And so that's kind of a big deal. It's definitely, it's a big deal just looking at it from the whole NATO perspective, and like, oh yeah, if you keep sending in your equipment, then we know we're at conflict with you. Those statements have been there from the beginning. But this is kind of taking it's almost to that level of planes. And it's almost to that level of even heavier weapons, like, large sized ordinances. Not saying nukes, but almost to that size. When you get to those heavy, larger pieces of equipment that can do significantly more damage, you're really crossing the line, so to speak, or you're really just laying down the statement that, hey, we're going to conflict here. And that's why a lot of people have been saying, hey, this is a declaration, even though it's not the words. But it seems like very much a declaration, because this is probably the line that's going to cause a lot of rift with Vlad.
And as far as like the different things being said, there's many other different publications that they're not talking about. We have seen so much of this on their front page, on their back page. All of their medias are talking about this, and they're all pushing out to their people saying, like, we need to take care. They're calling everybody in UKR the NAZIs of this new world. And sadly, without trying to support any of them, they have put out some factual stuff that does look bad for a lot of different countries. They've put out some classified stuff in their country that no mainstream media is covering here, which does make certain presidents look pretty bad. Somebody said something, I wanted to make sure I quoted you. That was pretty good. Anonymous Prepper Channel, because it looks like you have a channel, said something like, you're totally right. It's not, World War III isn't the end of the world. It's going to be difficult and challenging times. Unless it goes nuclear, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's just going to be really, really challenging times. I agree with that. I really do. And unfortunately, people think of it, as the end of the world instantly, and that's why they're pushing against it, because that's harder to believe than, say, just a real war happening between two major powers. We're so far away from the last war that people think that it won't happen, and I don't think that's the case. Gosh dang. It's like it's delayed or something here. There was another really good comment. Oh, man. I think I missed it, didn't I? Well, Anonymous Prepper Channel, shout out. I'll have to check out your channel. And Quantum Leap. German spokesperson said Germany is at war with Russia. Is that the same? What's that guy's name? Dex, can you look up the German spokesperson's name? Is that something we already have? Or is this something brand new? That would definitely...
I'll find it. Hang on. I think we have part of it, but I'll find it.
I think it's in a couple pieces from here. But just make sure if we are... I think we already have that. And then, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other dots that people need to start connecting. But as you guys know, your friends and family want to push against this. They want to say you're crazy. Every time if you warn somebody to prep, they roll their eyes. Like that's what annoys me. Is I've told some of my best friends that, like, hey, have some extra water and food, and I've checked in on them after like 3 or 4 months, and they haven't done anything after they've told me to my face that they would get prep, and they, oh yeah, you know, we do take it seriously, but then they have nothing, and it's like, and some of them have the financial ability to just go do it, and I'm like, if you have the ability to do it, why don't you do it? That seems crazy to me. That seems tinfoil hatty. I'm sure all of you guys have friends like that too. Or you've told them at the beginning of something, you know, oh, something's going to happen. Unfortunately, that's why you shouldn't tell your like sleeping friends that something's definitely going to happen in a couple weeks or something like that. Because then when something doesn't happen, this is why when people throw around these dates and they send their friends like, oh, this person says on the 18th we're all going to die. If you send that to a friend that's sleeping, that's going to push them farther into sleeping, because when something doesn't happen on the 18th, they're never going to listen to you again. Unfortunately, I know, because I did that at least once with some of my friends, and I was basing it off information that came from actual military, and it didn't come to fruition, and I think it didn't come to fruition because it got out publicly. So, again, there's always those things too, where it changed because all of us basically screamed out loud about it. All right, and then Dex, it looks like you do have, I'll go back to that here in a second. And then if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out Inergy. If you don't have a backup power supply, this is the one we recommend. This is the one we use. As far as the X2, I don't have the X2 yet, and I am very, very excited to get the X2. I do have the Flex 1500, which this is their flagship. This is actually above the X2 because it can be extended up to 96 batteries. If you're not familiar with solar generators compared to the old-fashioned gas-powered generators, they don't take $5 a gallon gas. They do not have a lot of maintenance because they don't have running motors. And also, they can run unlimited as long as you have solar panels and sun. These things are really awesome. Also, they are very, very silent. Again, these things will not be alerting your neighbors that you have power. You can also run it inside without any kind of negative impact. As far as a gas-powered generator, you might be able to run a tube or something out, but most people have to have these outside with all of the noxious fumes going somewhere. These don't have that. There are definitely pros to gas as far as gas-powered generators have their own. In a dream world, you would have both. But these are amazing because, again, this is a system you can actually expand and basically make an entire wall of batteries if you want. You can build it up as you go, and you can mod it. There are mods that actually change the actual performance of the machine. In fact, fundamentally change what it does. It can go from 4 panels. You put a mod unit in between, just like Legos, and it will actually be able to take in 12 panels. Again, this is a really, really amazing system. It's built like a truck. It is heavy, heavy-duty metal. I mean, this thing is just a beast. I would not want to be standing under a building if this dropped out the window, that's for sure. They are durable like no other. And again, they are one of the best out on the market. So they're not cheap, but they will also last a long time. It's kind of like, you know, when they used to make toasters back in the 50s, they would last 60 years. They were made out of steel and they would actually, you know, last. But then the companies realized if they make toasters that last 60 years, then no one will ever buy another one. So that's why they started making them crappier and crappier and crappier. Well, this is made like those old toasters, that's for sure. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy. Again, it's a very simple system. You literally plug in the solar panels to it, and that's it. There's no fancy stuff. A complete, a ferret could do it. A mink could do it, but just don't get near the mink. Again, marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. You not only get you 10% off of all of the packages, you can get upwards of $170 off on certain packages, but you're also helping our channel and you're backing yourself up. The X2, again, is going to be ready before that. That is, they're all built in one. That is a different kind of system because it has all of the lithium built in. This system is ready much faster, and it is an incredible generator by itself, and it can boast 6,000 charge cycles. So that one's ready sooner. People have been saying, there's a wait. There is a wait list for almost all of them. The X2 has very little of a wait list, and then that Flex 1500, it's because of the lithium. It's not their fault. Everyone is fighting over lithium right now. So if you want yours, get your name on one of those lists. Again, marfugglenews.com/energy and use the code Marfoogle. Go ahead, Dex.
I was going to say, I've got better than the article. I've got actually the video. If you want to pull it up, it's in Screener. This is the foreign minister who does not have the power to declare a conflict, but used the term war in a statement and did it in a way that people were suggesting, oh, well, that means that they're at it. But it's no different than in some people's regards how Vlad has used that same term over and over again against the West or against NATO, saying that he's at conflict with NATO. So it's not an actual declaration. It's just a spoken point that she was making. And that's where everybody's
we have to
talking
do
about.
more in Ukraine. Yes, we have to do more also on tanks. But the most important and the crucial part is that we do it together and that we do not do the blame game in Europe, because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Minister.
And therefore...
Wow, hold on. So, wow. Okay, so, and I think it's kind of like they're holding up a thin veil. We can all see through it, but they're going to go, no, it's painted red. We're all like, no, we can see through it. It's actually blue. No, it's red. It's blue. No, it's definitely red. It's blue. We can see the blue. No, you can't. That is
do
freaky.
more to defend Ukraine. And therefore, I've said already in the last days, yes, we have to do more to defend Ukraine. Yes, we have to do more also on tanks. But the most important and the crucial part is that we do it together and that we do not do the blame game in Europe, because we are fighting a war against Russia and not against each other. Thank you.
Wow. So, I mean, you could pick apart her wording of it, but saying we are at a war with Russia, not with each other, that's pretty big. Basically saying we're in this too. Go ahead, Dex.
I still think that her words are not what's going to cause any problems. The problems are the fact that we're actually putting the equipment there and the heavy equipment rolling in. It's the actions, not the words, that matter. And again, she doesn't have the power to declare it. It's not a declaration or anything. It's just a statement, or you can call it an admission if you want. Call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters. What she says has very little bearing on what will happen next. What's going to happen next is by the U.S. and Poland and Germany and everyone else that's throwing in all these heavy tanks in, that's going to take it to the next level. It's the actions, not necessarily the words.
I'm just surprised the first 5 aren't people like, that's not a declaration of war. More people are saying like, oh, posting if this is a bad thing, then again, you're also not a Russia expert. a lot of people are so rude. How they'll just do something to just jab at you. Suck it up, Buttercut. Who wore it better? I don't know why that's funny. Wow. Man, it's been a nightmare for you guys during T-Man's first term. 4 years of peace and not a single military stock of any worth. Germany and Russia have such a rich history of conflict. What could go wrong? Always blame Germany. Safe bet, says Vox. Let's see here. Well done, Germany. People are rooting this on. Do you see what I mean? Every comment is saying, oh, as if it's a bad thing we go to conflict with them. People are cheering this on. You guys see what I mean? Neil Lamy says, don't look up. I've seen that throughout chat tonight. I don't know if maybe you're behind on the Asteroid story, but it is kind of freaky. Like, part of the back of my head thinks that Don't Look Up was based on some true events we don't know about. It was done by Adam McKay, who specializes in true-to-life events. So he does based on a true story movies. That's how he's won all of his awards. And he even put in the trailer, based on true events, ... And then the next black screen said that haven't happened yet. And I'm just like, come on. And then based all of the characters on real people back in T-Man's era, and it came out after T-Man was out. I don't know. It was weird. And then used real memes that Elon Musk actually tweeted of an asteroid hitting Earth. There was all these things that lined up with a certain time period at the same time that the Sunspot Observatory shut down. At the same time, and then in the Don't Look Up where they said, oh, this thing could be worth trillions of dollars. When T-Man was in office, there were all of these articles that were syndicated that said, we just found out that there's trillions of dollars on these asteroids. Do you remember that? They said, oh, this one asteroid could be worth $50 trillion. We can get a specific metal. Do you remember that? And it's like, Don't Look Up had all these little things in there, and it had these characters roughly based on like our Zuckerbergs and Elon Musk's. And it's like, I have 50 million data points on you. I know when you have a polyp on your butt, stuff like that. It's like, that's true to life stuff at this point. There were so many things as far as all of the comparisons to the real people in that movie. And then Elon Musk posting all these weird things over the years. Russia's escape plan is called Noah's Ark. And people go, oh, well, you're just looking too into it. Okay. They're starting Asgardia. They're doing all this stuff. I still think that that's underneath all of it. But then I have to also be open-minded to everything else that's going on. I do think it's all a circus. But it might be a circus to prevent us from seeing all of the truth. You don't go in with Black Hawk helicopters and Chinooks to go get a dude that had photos on his computer. I'm sorry. That doesn't make sense. And then shut down a town for 11 days and raid the post office nearby. Like, just didn't seem right. All right. And then that was, of course, the Sunspot Observatory. They've got all of their cover-ups out there now. Why sending UKR tanks represents a fierce new step by the West. Dex, do you want to explain what they're talking about here?
Yes, certainly. So, as this is what I was saying earlier about how this is that big turning point, and in my opinion, and I think there was another article too. I don't know if we're going to get to it about the tips that they can put into these tanks that can be considered dirty because they have uranium cores, as Moscow calls it. So between those two, between the fact that they're rolling in these big tanks and the fact that some of them can have, potential munitions in them that they don't like, that can be used. This is, again, taking it to a very significant next level. And it's not that Vlad is taking it to that level, but the West is, NATO is. And let's not kid yourselves. It's not UKR that's doing this. It's the West. The West is giving the stuff. They're putting it in there, and they just keep increasing and increasing the amount. They went from, heavy armored vehicles to now full on tanks. And we'll talk a little bit later about what they're going to ask for next.
Yep, and that it says that they're burning through artillery shells. Now the U.S. is increasing production by 500%. It's just like, so Russia's the one running out of artillery, right? Oh, wait, no, they are. And we're making more to keep them supplied. How is this not a war with Russia? Like, we are directly supplying the ammunition that takes the lives of their soldiers. You would think, maybe we're at war with Russia. That's probably why there's a 96% chance by all of these cyber experts that we're going to have a catastrophic cyber event. This is why we're talking about EMP and cyber events and having yourself backed up with power. Back yourself up. Like, this is, if you can't see why we are partly responsible for this conflict, I mean, we're running this with the rest of NATO. It says if we didn't interject, by NATO didn't interject, UKR would now be Russia again. I mean, it's that simple. The United States is planning to dramatically ramp up production of a key artillery round that UKR has used to beat back Russia's full-scale invasion of the country. It says under the latest proposal, the U.S. aims to, within 2 years, produce up to 90,000 rounds of 155-millimeter ammunition every month. It says that's more than double the goal detailed just last month by Army Secretary Christine Wormuth, who told reporters the goal was to manufacture 20,000 rounds a month by this spring and 40,000 by 2025. Sounds a whole lot like they're getting prepared for a way bigger war. They said 20,000 rounds and then 40 by 2025. Now they're saying that they're going to try to produce up to 90,000 rounds. That's a whole lot of ammunition. That's a lot. And they're saying it's because they've depleted the stockpile. I don't know. Dex, do you also see that could be because they're trying to possibly get it ready for a bigger fight?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been making some potential dot connections here, saying that by moving all this equipment there, it's not, we're putting a whole bunch of equipment that's on the front, the NATO front, and we've started putting trenches in. We've started moving a lot of heavy planes that have the ability to drop things out of them. All of that stuff is happening, and we're getting it all right there. And for us to be building 500% more output on our munitions right now on any of the types, that's obviously one of the potential events you would see before a conflict kicks off. You would see us trying to replenish or build up those stocks. So totally makes sense. Certainly the news that we have with UKR just not having enough and burning through it. It was one of the things we talked about a couple times here on the show, is that this whole battle of attrition, where they just keep matching shell for shell back and forth with Vlad's country, and even the West was telling them, "Hey, stop that! You can't afford it." And really, what they mean is we can't afford it, or we can, but it's just a waste, because if you go 1-to-1, you're going to run out. Hence, we're now creating more. So that's one of those statements that's been made for the last couple of weeks by our leadership that went over and met with them and told them, "Hey, stop trying to match that," just like they said, stop trying to go into Bakhmut. And so that's certainly all of those things kind of paint that picture, bring it all back together. And yes, it's very easy to see that it's something we're doing to ship stuff over to UKR. It's also very easy to see it. We're stockpiling up and building up because we're expecting the next wave or the next event that's going to go beyond UKR.
So somebody said that 90,000 is not that much, to be honest. And I'm not military, so that you could be right. And this isn't, we don't know how accurate this is, but it says the Russians used 40,000 artillery pieces in the Battle of Berlin alone. It also says over 9,000. That answer is, of course, correct. There were more than 9,000 artillery shells fired during World War II. Way, way, way over. Artillery came in wide ranges of sizes. There were bombardments that lasted days or longer. So I don't know if that's it doesn't seem accurate. But this isn't 90,000 total. This is 90,000 a month. So, I mean, if you're talking about something like 40,000 were used in the battle for Berlin, that would be multiple cities. If you over a year, you would have a million artillery shells, and in 2 years you would have over 2 million. It says approximately 750,000 artillery pieces were used in World War II. So that makes a little bit more sense. 47 billion rounds of small arms munition, approximately 11 million tons of artillery ammunition, more than 12 million rifles. That's pretty insane to think about. Approximately 750,000 artillery pieces. Wow. And maybe that's just the artillery. No? Yeah, that's probably just the artillery, the things that fire the artillery. Huh. What do you guys think if you are military or ex-military? Is that a lot? Is that something that civilians should be worried about or not? And then UKR, let's see here, Russian installed Donetsk chief says that Wagner units making progress in Bakhmut. So we're covering it because there's some more admissions here, and it says the Russian-installed governor of UKR's Donetsk region said on Wednesday that units of the Wagner contract militia were advancing in the town of Bakhmut, with fighting taking place in previously UKR-held neighborhoods. Reuters could not independently confirm the battlefield claim by Denis Pushilin, the Russian-imposed head of the region, whose annexation was claimed by Moscow last September. It says units in particular, Wagner, are advancing in Atromovsk itself. TASS news agency quoted him as saying, using the Russian name for the town. Fighting is already taking place in the outskirts in the neighborhoods that until very recently were held by the enemy. So they're saying that they're taking back Bakhmut. Before, we've seen the whole back and forth when Wagner said that they conquered something, then Russia said they didn't, but within like a week, they actually said they did. And then, Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the city that the West last 2 weeks, and we've reported this numerous times, have been telling them back out, like stop trying to defend it. You're going to lose. So now we're getting the at least from the Vlad side, they're saying, hey, we're rolling in, we're winning. So it's coming to fruition, and it sort of goes back to that whole notion that UKR is kind of not that skilled and experienced at some of the decisions they're making. And that's what our Western military leaders were trying to tell them and trying to say, hey, stop wasting and putting and reinforcing Bakhmut, move down in these other areas because you're going to lose it. If you keep putting people there, you're just wasting people and wasting time.
Yeah, you're one of the defense guys said you're producing more body bags than you need to. And then I forgot about that. So they told them to just give up there. That was just kind of crazy. They said to go south and focus it on the south border. Well, apparently that's happening. So everybody, like a month and a half ago when they retreated from Kherson, said, oh, yeah, they're going to win and all this. I don't think Russia's used their full potential yet. But who knows? We'll see. If you want long-term survival food, make sure to go over and check out marfugglenews.com/prep. You can get 25-year shelf life food at a discount. You can get $200 off on the 3-month supply right now. That, again, is 3 months of freeze-dried, Mylar packed and sealed food that will last until 2052 plus. So it's a really, really great deal. But if you want to just build up a little at a time, you can also get single bags. You can also get a week. You can get 2 weeks. You can get a 3-day kit. You can get all sorts of different things if you want a kit for your bug out bag, or if you don't want to be one of the many that has an average of 3 days of food and water in their house. then definitely prep up and get yourself some extra stuff. With all of the things heading our way, it's definitely a smart move, but also be responsible. Obviously pay your light bill before you do this. But at this point, people really don't have to tell you why you should have this. Most of you already know. You can also get a really, really great water purification system, which is the Alexa Pure Pro. That system is a large gravity-fed system that can do a lot of water in a short amount of time. This is really good, too, especially if you think about it. If SHTF did happen, you would need to shower and do all sorts of other things, too. Definitely really great if you are trying to filter out really nasty stuff out of water. Marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, and then UKR predicts attacks on major Russian cities. So we teased this in the very beginning. This is, it seems like they're just like keep showing a pink elephant in the room and go, we're not going to talk about that, but we're basically going to let you know it's there. It says that UKR authorities say Russia's biggest cities are bound to suffer attacks as a result of the Kremlin's conflict against UKR. It says that internal escalation of the conflict in Russia is inevitable. What are they talking about here? Are they talking about some Fight Club stuff where buildings just start blowing up? Are they talking about people inside the country are going to do something? Or are they talking about NATO? Because of one of the quotes, it says cities that are pampered, lazy, and thought that they lived in a different reality, such as Moscow, St. Petersburg, and Yekaterinburg, will be subject to strikes. These are some really specific comments here. He said, stressing that Ukraine itself has no plans to carry out such attacks, but the, quote, logic of war means that all of Russia will be dragged into what the Kremlin started. He said various blows will be dealt to various targets. Why, by whom, and what for, that's another question. These predictions people need to pay attention to. Even if it's orchestrated in a whole circus, watch. Things are about to get a whole lot worse, people. So wake up. Dex, the various blows will be dealt to various targets. It sounds like he knows something, and I don't usually say this about anybody of the UKR stuff, but this is like very specific. Why?
It is. It's very specific. It's coming from the advisor to Zelensky, the president there, from UKR. This is on the heels of the CIA meeting over there. This is on the heels of the military leadership, including Milley, meeting over there. And now what we're hearing is they're saying these targets are going to be hit, and it isn't going to be by us. So who's it going to be by? It's going to be, he's basically predicting, or I wouldn't say predicting, he's saying they know it's going to happen, and it's going to happen from the escalation that's going to include NATO. So this is sort of definitely a layer of foreshadowing to what's next, what the inevitable is, what's going to happen, what they predict is going to happen next. And by the way, the equipment that's now there has been proven they can hit angles, as they said in the very first article we started the show off. If they can hit angles, they can hit Moscow. So when you put all this together, while it may not be UKR that does it, it very well could be, the equipment that's there that does it, or it could be straight up coming from NATO at some point in the not too distant future. That's what I'm taking from this. And it's, and by the way, these guys are in the know. They're not sitting over there blind and using their country as a proxy conflict for no reason. They did it to, for lots of reasons, whether it was to get their vacation homes and their fancy cars and then get quote unquote fired and go somewhere to retire. Or if it was for other things like power and glory or whatnot, or et cetera. Like they are not just sitting there blind. They are being controlled, being steered, being driven by NATO, by the West, by our leadership. So when they say something like this, they probably weren't told to say this. They probably shouldn't have said something like this. But when they say something like this, you could infer that they actually know, because they're part of this bigger picture of what's going on, and they're the ultimate front line, so to speak. So they're not going to be in the dark.
So we'll see what happens here, but there are a ton of different predictions from Bill Gates to UKR to Soros saying that we're going into the recession that we'll never see before. If any of these people are right, which they all have different paths that they say that we're going down, all of these predictions are grim. So this is why it's better to have a realistic kind of idea of how 2023 is going to go instead of being, have your head in the sand and keep swiping until you're happy. People need to start getting some stuff together. And I will say this, you will be happy if other people are not alive and you are. And other people are suffering without power and water and food. And you have all of that. It's that simple. We can be happy without technology. I see a lot of comments all the time saying people saying, I hope they destroy all the technology. It's hurting us. For those of you that say that, you might be right. I mean, watch, what would we be that we just read yesterday? The average adult can only go 5 hours without their telephone, cell phone. It's horrible. But it's not anything that anybody here wants. Nobody wants war. War is not going to be the end of the world. It's going to be a time of difficult. And if it didn't happen now, something else really horrible would happen. And I think that would just kick the can down the road. By the way, thank you, Beer Juice. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Thank you, Scooby-Doo right over on D-Live. Sky House, thank you. I appreciate that. End is near. Thank you. I appreciate your diamond. This has been here for 5 years. This is only news I use. Well, thank you. And then, of course, Poco Loco, Scooby-Doo do right. Johnson, thank you for gifting out a badge to Julia22. Ecto1, thank you again for being here. And Bug Nana, thank you. Everybody that has popped over to D-Live and kept that family alive, I appreciate that. And then Brett Adams says, War on the Elites. Mindset925 says, War Pigs. Dominic Delete Spiotto, thank you. Ashad Lev Spidum, you said something before. Gosh dang it, I missed that comment. Ashad, whatever your last comment was, I wanted to read that out loud, but I couldn't get to it in time. It's really hard when your brain is reading new comments and names, and then it quickly deletes the old ones. All right, and then now that UKR is finally getting the tanks it wants, it's already looking for the next big thing. Want to guess what that is? Fighter jets. Dex, you kind of teased into this. By the way, the writer, gosh, how much would it suck to have that last name now? That would just absolutely be the worst last name. That's kind of like, I know there's a lot of really great Karens here, but I'm sure you've had your friends once or twice make the joke, right? But yeah, Epstein. Ugh. Dex, they're asking for jets. Are you kidding? And guess what? I bet you within a couple months they will.
It's just going to, whatever they want, they get. So Foreign Minister Dmitry Kuleba said after the announcement of Germany saying they're sending the Leopards over, they said, we have a new task ahead: Western type fighter jets, sanctions, and peace formula implementation. So basically, he's looking for the next thing, which would be F-15s, F-16s, etc. I'm sure they would probably want to ask for F-35s too, but dream on. I can't imagine that would happen anytime soon. But this is the point. It's just like, okay, well, we're going to keep asking for more, and we're going to keep asking for more. So are we just going to keep giving more? And where do we stop? Do we, give them these jets? Then do we give them really large, long-range munitions that can have huge impacts? Do we give them some nukes and say, hey, why don't we just roll those in there too? Because nothing can go wrong with that, right? So, when does it end? That's what I think is sort of crazy here. And
I bet you within the next 3 months, we'll probably have, a couple people holding up their flag behind him, and he'll come and Congress will say, "Oh yeah, let's do it! Yay! I want to sign my name on it." Who knows? And somebody said, "You almost got me. I almost thought that I was like dealing with like a Mandela effect." They said that EpiPen was spelled with 2 E's, and I was like, wait, I had to check that. But no, that's how it's spelled. Epstein. All right, and then Saudi Arabia has copied Ventura Boulevard. Jason Beck, we need to pray and keep prepping. Love you all. I agree with you, Jason. I'm praying and praying for you, buddy, and hoping you're okay. I know you've been through a lot of stuff over the last couple of years, and I know you were asking for prayer back. And didn't you just lose an animal, Jason? Didn't you lose your puppy or your kitty? Something? I feel like you lost somebody close to you, or an animal that was in your family. I remember that kind of stuff. I'm wide awake and angry. Joseph Yanni. Luke, I am your father. That is a fact. We all know it. Yeah, that trips me out. The Berenstein Bears, the Berenstein. That's just weird. If you haven't gone down the Mandela effect rabbit hole, go check out Jacob Israel's videos. I think he has the best ones that are still on YouTube. Unfortunately, Edge of Wonder is no longer on YouTube, but they had an amazing video that broke it down. Maybe they still have it, but it's over on their new site. But those guys, man, that was really sad when they got taken. Rest in peace, EOW. They're still around. They still have their website. You could try to link that so you can go over. It's only a subscription-based thing. People get on our case about filter and all this, but it's like, would you rather we get booted and then only be, something that you have to pay $4 a month for or something like that? I don't know. Let me know. It would be cool to be completely uncensored, but then they can go at the actual provider and then take you out from that level. That's what's crazy about nowadays. All right. And then let's see here. Thank you all of the people that popped in the last hour. I appreciate you. Travel with Dan. Thank you. I believe you will be the top supporter tonight. I appreciate that. And thank you for supporting Independent. Jason Beck says, I lost my dog Princess on January 2nd. I'm sorry about that, Jason. I know animals are extremely important in our house. They're family members in our house. Blue Boy 1968 says, I dare say Adolf is looking up from hell with a big grin on his face and a big grin on his face saying, we are go again with another great show. We'll go again with another great show. That's a horrible try. Dex, thank you for your service tonight, and thank you all the mods. Dex, great job.
Thank you. Much love, brother.
And then let's go over the web only. We've got lots of really crazy stuff here.
Certainly, we've got a lot. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link. It's in the description on YouTube and Rumble. It'll take you right here. This is everything we covered and above. As you scroll down, you get this yellow bar on the screen there. It says overflow web content. This is where the rest of the story is. Of course, there's this video. We talked about it earlier in the show. You need to go check that one out from PV and what's going on in the pharma world. Kind of crazy expose there. In addition to that, lots of other things happening. Update on the M1 Abrams. We're sending over a bunch, but there's something we have to actually pay attention to. We're not just sending our straight up M1 Abrams because apparently they have some special armor on them that we can't send out. So they're actually, I don't know if they're making others or they're just getting a different type of M1 Abrams to send. But if you want to understand what's going on with that armor that we have that we will not export because it's special to us, you can find that out. An update on the whale story, specifically to the wind energy. Nick, who was banned from Twitter, came back and then was banned again. So it didn't take him long to get kicked back off.
Same with
there's
Veritas.
Some updates there with with who?
Veritas was brought back, but I couldn't find them. I think they're gone as well.
I found them.
Oh, are you sure, or was it
They didn't
updates?
show up in search, but I found other people pointing them out. And I found them.
Oh, that's why they said we're banned from search. Oh my gosh, how can they even do that? I think that's because Elon said that they would show people what they have. So they actually are being real about that. They're saying we're banned from search. I typed them in directly and could not find them. So I'm surprised you were able to.
Yeah, I had the same problem, and I found them because someone else had retweeted them, and then I was able to find them from that.
Wow.
Because I didn't remember what the handle was, but yeah. So that's going on. I don't know if that's just a leftover from them being unbanned, and maybe they didn't, figure out that they were banned in search, and they need to fix that, or is that a sign of Elon's statement of like, we'll, limit the reach, right? But yes, Nick was on, Nick was off, just like that. Updates from Gilly Bates, that's there. It's kind of old. He did this AMA, Ask Me Anything, a while back, but it's a topic that they put together in an article that I think a lot of people like to hear about with the farmland. So you could go look that up and see what they had to say. Crazy videos of people who actually ditched their RV and ran into a ditch. So they ditched the RV and then ran into a ditch intentionally to escape a tornado. That's actually pretty wise of them to do. If you want to see that, that's there. There's some political updates going on, especially with T-Man and MGT, who thinks she's going to be a potential VP pick. Of course, the Santos saga continues. That's kind of ugh. And then lots of other things going on, including the current president's son and what they're pushing for. So those updates, that little political section is all there for all of the fun you would like to hear about that. Some updates with other things that were happening in Spain with Amazon workers potentially striking in UK. For those of you that like Fireball, apparently there's a lawsuit saying they don't actually contain whiskey. I didn't realize that was an issue. I had Fireball, and I don't know the last time I ever had Fireball, but and then some really cool stuff coming out of Jerusalem, some ancient hand imprints that are baffling some experts. So that and much more is all on the website. So make sure you go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or just click the show notes link. It's in the description. We put this together for you every night. You can go check all the sources that we talked about earlier in the show. You can find the full articles, the links, any of the videos, any of the other copy is there, content is there, media is there. And then we've got the rest of the story, all of it put together for you every night.
And if you guys can, I'm very curious, since you guys are all here, and it will help you find my Twitter. If you are on Twitter, can you just go search Marfoogle News specifically, and see if let me know where I show up, or if I pop up at all, or what you see first. Let me know what you actually see. Are you able to find me on Twitter? And let me know in the chat. It is now time for the shoutro. Thank you, Dex. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Much love.
And of course, the mods, we have amazing mods here. Go over to marfooglenews.com/friends to find Bones, Chance Paladin, CJ Blaze, Jammer1, Lisa R. Hall, Rip Curl Readiness, RJL Harris, Ilea, Trinity, Red Pill, or Blue Hippo, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog here. And of course, our wonderful Wages World, who I believe was here earlier. I don't know if you're still here, Wages, but thank you so much. Wages has got a huge channel, and it's a grace that he's here, and he just happens to have free time to help us out. But he is a great, great guy. Also, the Lifeboat over Tommy at the Lifeboat, Wages and him help out a lot of folks that are dealing with addiction recovery. So make sure to go check out their channel as well. Thank you. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. It's where I say thank you to the people that matter most, you. That's what they get when we stand and fight. Directed revolution. That's what they call it, so they sleep at night. Directed revolution. That's what they get when we stand and fight. Directed revolution. That's what they call it, so they sleep at night. Directed revolution. That's what they get when we stand and fight. Directed revolution. That's what they call it, so they sleep at night. Directed revolution. soul rebel and the Miss Gemma one. I make my boat on a big mic long wood and a corn mine play tracker. Everybody scratcher. Oh, Stephanie Munoz, unseen Apex 13. Hey, Gemma one and the Bobby Sue Fry. Bobby on the bag with the Mr. on the eye with the PJ Orden and the shot left shite. I'm on the boat night. I'm bring it on back now. I go show science. For the rest of me back no fine. I'm about to do it in a new night time. Ball in the box and a big knot. I the monks are jarring on my feet. I'm Nigri and a Dominic Daly. I speak at the travel with insurance Murphy. On my Monday, I see the pony on the big night. I see the go Marfoogle and the egg now bag with the breast when Mike for crescendo. I see the Rasta, I miss a tinfoil hat. I would like a tinfoil crown at that. I said a Marvin fun time. You see back, hi everybody, I see you right back. I got the Jason back in the Blue Boy 1968 Travel with Dan. Observer in a Carol light now. Back now, right now, we demand. Be real beast in the Karen Kissick. Getting back with the best on the basic. Biz quick, maybe I make some chocolate milk with some when AZ. I'm old dog, rough stock, and a K Holmes. Cooking on kingdoms, upper down. Hey, now with the greats want you too. I meet Papa 0073. I got the Tony Alameda and the on smash. Willie on the hunt and everybody has you. With a miss with the Miss Tinfoil hat. Jacob, that's me. And Nectar, bring it on the back right now. One toe, stop it and I swear like all of y'all. Everybody knows that the music that needs me are Yes, I wing it, I just wing it. And I wing it every time I sing it. With the wing it with the man, I wing it with the gun. Everybody really knows all on damn. Stealth mode. So what do you see when you actually go to Dex? I'm not what do you see when you go there? Do you at least see Dex there? I got the unseen Apex 13. I had Joni